Okay, welcome to Java Programming. This is just a short slide presentation to give you an introduction to the course. So, let's begin. So this is Java Programming. I'm going to try my best to kind of make it entertaining and fun. I'm not sure how successful I'm going to be. And yes, this is one of those courses where it's sort of an introductory course, not really more like an intermediate level course. You had to have had like programming logic and design. You probably did some work in Python in that course, perhaps. So you should know a little thing, a bit. And this stuff is kind of fairly in-depth, and there's an awful lot of topics. So yeah, it goes pretty quick. However, I tend to stress like the concepts and the philosophies a heck of a lot more than like syntax and those kinds of things. So I promise I won't make it too terrible for you. Okay, so this is an online class, 100% online with asynchronous video. What that basically means is you're going to have videos like this that are recorded in advance, and there's no opportunity for you to raise your hand in the middle of lecture and ask me a question. Obviously, you can send me an email. And the only prerequisites for this course is that Programming Logic and Design course. And the textbook is Starting Out with Java. This guy. Yes, you are going to need a copy of the book. And I'll just tell you up front that I tend to supplement the material in the textbook a lot. Somewhere in the vicinity of about 20% comes from me rather than from the book. Just saying. Okay, so online videos. So the way it works is I release the videos every Monday morning. Typically, it's one chapter per week. The videos are hour and a half long in average. The videos are broken up into 15-minute chunks because that way, you have a life. And so you can just get to the end of a video and stop and go do something else, and then come back and pick up where you left off. And these things are not in the super duper high definition format. They're kind of in a medium definition format to make them small enough so they'll work nicely on, small screens. Like if you want to try this on your phone or tablet, that'd be just dandy. And later on, if you're doing the videos, particularly if you bring them up in YouTube, there's a little gear in the corner. You click on that and you can change the speed of the video to speed it up. So you get the same content, it just takes less time to watch, which is pretty doggone cool. Okay, so I mentioned this is asynchronous, which is a fancy term for these things are recorded in advance. And so if you have a question in the quiz, during the lecture, you're really going to have to send me a Canvas email that says, hey, I heard you say something about, didn't really get that. Could you go over that again? That's how it kind of sort of works. And obviously you can ask me about anything. You can ask me about, you're in the middle of working on one of the assignments and you go, what on earth does that mean? And if you really, really, really need to have a face-to-face, we can do a WebEx kind of a scenario where, if you have a camera and a microphone at home, we can hook up and do a little virtual meeting. If you don't have that capability or that's just too clumsy, well, then that's sure fine. We can schedule something and we can meet in my office at the university. Okay. So, since this is an online course, absolutely everything is going to be done through Canvas. All the assignments and quizzes, everything, right? And which means, obviously, you need access to a decent machine to be able to pull this off. I think that you need at least Windows 7. I'm not absolutely certain if you need more than that. And, of course, the university has computers, too, so if yours breaks or something, you could drive out to the university and use theirs. You do need a reliable internet connection. One of the things that would be, here's a horror story. Horror story would be, right, you're in the middle of the final exam, and, you're doing this during a thunderstorm, and then there's a bolt of lightning, and poof, your power goes out. Or, your internet is just incredibly flaky or incredibly slow, and, it just takes forever, and, these things are timed, and so you're going, oh, man, I can't get to the next question. So, yeah, you need a reliable internet connection, and don't try to do a quiz in the middle of a thunderstorm, too. Okay, so we are going to install some software. We're going to install the Java Development Kit, the JDK, and then we're going to install one of the available development environments. I'm going to use NetBeans. You don't have to use NetBeans, but I'm just telling you two things. One is, that's what's in the book. And two, that's what I'm going to use for lecture. So, if you were half bright, you'd go, well, I really like Eclipse. But on the other hand, the professor's going to be using NetBeans and the book is about NetBeans, I guess I'll learn how to do things in NetBeans. That would be kind of smart. And you are going to need to be able to create Microsoft Word documents. And you probably already know that, you can go to the university and get, a free version of the Microsoft 365 subscription, which includes Microsoft Word. And we're going to demonstrate in lecture how to do this, although it's not all that complicated on how to install that stuff. Okay, so what are your expectations? Well, let me tell you my expectations. Yeah, you're going to learn one heck of a lot about the Java programming language, and you're going to have to apply that by writing some very simple applications. You will not need to be a computer expert to do well in this class, and quite frankly, it's not my job to turn you into a computer expert. If you're one of those people who, this is going to be painful for you, like, oh God, I hate programming, I'm trying my best not to torture you. Okay, so what are we going to cover? We're going to cover 14 chapters in the book. Lots of stuff. The book has got an awful lot of stuff that's online. I have a lot of online chapters. We're not going to use any of those, but that's just saying. Okay, so here's the thing I talk about it at the beginning of every course, and it concerns about how people learn. If you're talking to, third graders, and third graders are going to be down at the bottom of the pyramid, define, duplicate, list, memorize. Memorize the state capitals. Okay, that's what a third grader would do. When you get a little bit further in high school, then you have to understand things. You have to be able to classify, describe, discuss, explain. And we're kind of sort of beyond that. This is college, okay? So I want you to execute, implement, solve, use, demonstrate, interpret, those kinds of things. So this higher levels of learning, which is what we're really after in college, right? Okay, good. So just to kind of bring this point home, I talk about what versus why. And so what is one of those things where I say, what is the capital of South Dakota? And the correct answer is, I don't know, I'll look it up. Because we don't really need to be memorizing state capitals anymore. I mean, really? Come on. In this modern age, everyone has a phone. Just look it up. So very rarely, I'm never going to have a test question that says, define the following term. If I did, I'd know precisely what you would do. You'd grab the term, you'd throw it in Google, you'd copy whatever the heck came up, and paste it in as the answer. I'm not trying to test you on your ability to do Google searches. I'm trying to test you on your ability to understand and understand the material. Can you describe it to me? Now, that would be a good one. Describe in your own words this concept. That would be a good test question. But never, what does the following term mean? We're not doing that. So I'm after you understanding things, not just memorizing things. Okay, so understanding is much more. Understanding is, why am I doing this? Or, there's two different choices here, and the professor said do it this way, and I really don't understand. So let me dig a little bit deeper and see if I can figure out why. That kind of stuff? Okay. All right, so let's continue. So here are the course requirements. There's going to be two major exams, a midterm and a final. The final is not comprehensive, so the midterm is the first half of the book, and the final is the second half of the book. There'll be 6 quizzes. They'll be done at home, obviously, since this is an online course. Typically, there's 20 questions in one of these things, and I give you about an hour to do them. There'll be 6 assignments. Typically, we're talking about very small programming assignments that you actually copy into a Word document and submit as a Word document. And then I usually give you about 2 weeks to work on the assignments. And then there's a term project. The term project is big. It's going to have lots of moving parts and lots of things that you're going to have to be able to do to pull it off. So I give you about 2 weeks to work on that. And then there's a participation score, which is basically, did you do what I asked you to do? Did you watch the videos? Did you do what I asked you to do? Which is kind of sort of simple. So here's how the grades pop out. Quizzes and assignments are about 1/3 of the grade. Exams are a little bit less. And then the term project is a pretty decent 15%, and your participation score is a 5%. That's how the grades pop out. So here's what the schedule looks like. So this is done on a weekly basis. So, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, right? right on down the list, and here's everything that is due. So yes, the first week of class, something is due on a Friday. Yes, something is due. It's going to be a syllabus quiz and a journal assignment, which we haven't talked about yet, so just bear with me. So here's how the thing works. This is how the weekly routine works. On Monday, I submit the current week's video lectures, okay? And then at the next Friday is when something is due. It's going to be either a quiz or an assignment, but every week something is going to be due. And then on that same Monday, I release the release the videos, plus I release the quizzes and the assignments that are upcoming, and then I release what's called my lecture notes, which I'll talk about again in just a minute. So that's the weekly routine. Everything gets released on Monday, and everything is due on the following Friday. Well, sometimes the same week, sometimes the next week. Okay, so workload. How bad is this course going to be? Well, to tell you the truth, this is not going to be one of those killer courses. About 2 to 3 hours outside of the video lectures, so it might take you, let's say it takes you, let's be let's say it takes you 2 hours to do the videos. So 2 hours plus 2 hours, about 4 hours a week, roughly. So we are doing about, a chapter a week, and there's an awful lot of stuff. And something is due every single Friday at 11:59. Could be a quiz, could be an assignment, but something is due every single week. So what are the rules? Okay, so the rules for the midterm and the final are kind of simple. Well, obviously it's going to be conducted at home. This is an online course. It's going to be open book, open internet, open everything. But don't let that kind of fool you. I mean, this thing is timed. You got an hour and 15 minutes to do. You got 25 questions plus 2 extra credit questions. If you do the math, that comes out like, 2 minutes and 47 seconds. You're not going to have the time to go, oh, wait, let me go look that up. You're going to have to know the material. You're going to have to study. Okay, just because it's a open book, that's not actually going to help you that much. So the other quizzes are the same thing. I mean, they're take home, so they're open book over thing. There's usually 20 questions and 1 hour time limit. And then I use my lecture notes to write the questions. Now let me explain what that means. Okay, so this is kind of sort of important, so you really should be paying attention. All right, I basically write up some notes to myself that I use when I do the video lectures. I mean, all this is notes for me. Okay, these are my notes, okay? My notes that say, okay, so when we get to chapter 2, I need to talk about this and I need to talk about that, okay? And so when it comes time to write the quiz, okay, I do not look at the book at all. I look at my lecture notes to write the quiz questions. I'll be looking through the notes and go, ooh, that'd be a good question. And a little bit further on, that'd be another good question. So if I'm using my lecture notes to create the quiz, you think maybe you ought to be looking at my lecture notes to study for the quiz, or maybe even have them printed out in your hand while you're taking the quiz? Wouldn't that be a cool idea? Yeah, okay, so just saying. Lecture notes are very important. Okay, so assignments. Let me tell you, sometimes students have these crazy ideas about, well, I'll just read the first 5 words of the assignment. Oh, it wants me to do this and this. I got it. Okay, good. If that's the way you read, where you don't bother to read every single word before you start, you're probably going to be doing rather poorly in this course. You need to read every single word in that assignment. If there's a word in their assignment, that's probably there on purpose. Okay? Read every single word. Okay. Now, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark, and I mentioned that I break these videos up into 15-minute chunks, so I'm just going to stop this video where we are, and we'll pick it up again in just a minute.